So we're going to start off with Rita, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. She writes about the triumphs and challenges when navigating life with chronic migraine. Rita's Jane Eyre-inspired collection, The Jane and Bertha in Me, published by Kelsey Books, was a finalist for the Andres Montoya Poetry Prize. And I ran across what Denise Duhamel wrote about this book. She said, Rita Maria Martinez's The Jane and Bertha in Me is a Rubik's Cube of Janes. Each poem is a smartly annotated, hauntingly revisionist homage to Jane Eyre. Martinez's outstanding poems are literary, conversational, personal fun as she confidently transports her Janes from the moors to Macy's, from Thornfield Hall to the world of tattoos. So that should intrigue you to read that book if you haven't already. Rita's work appears in the Best American Poetry blog, Plowshares, Pleiades, Tupelo Quarterly, Knee Brace Press, Swim, Word Gathering, 9 Mile Magazine, and elsewhere. Her poetry is also featured in CLMP's 2026 Disability Pride Month reading list. You can follow Rita on Instagram at rita.maria.martinez.poet, with Martinez with a Z, or visit her website, which I will put into the chat. I'm probably going to put the whole bio that I just read into the chat, but I will also put a link where you can buy the Jane and Bertha in Me book that's available from Kelsey Books and from Amazon. So Rita, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate your coming to us, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. So I'm just going to read 2 or 3 poems from the Jane and Bertha in Me, and then I'll read some newer stuff. The Jane and Bertha in Me. The Jane in me wants to model a black dress, bottle-thick lenses, tuck my hair in a bun. The Bertha in me wants to sport a turban, a red nightgown, and chandelier earrings. The Jane in me is suspicious of men flaunting pinky rings, each diamond the size of a chiclet. The Bertha in me believes leathery hands barnacled with gypsy rings are an omen of fertility. The Jane in me seizes meaning in the curve of a nose, the stain of a birthmark on the scalp, interprets the stitch of hair standing to attention on the back of a stranger's head, reads bushy eyebrows, the wide mouth to mean he is stubborn, eats salad with his hands and continues speaking, regardless of tomato basil soup dribbling down his chin. The Bertha in me sleeps until 3 in the afternoon and sits on the back porch with a cup of Earl Grey that quells the desire to chop up her crotchety landlord. The Bertha in me contemplates the moon, constellations perched on the cusp of night like hundreds of stretched hands on an assembly line, like synchronized swimmers suspended in mid-stroke, while the Jane in me wants to extract Rochester's teeth with her tweezerman, stow them in a jar, a pillbox, deposit his wrenched incisors and canines in a velvet pouch, and pin it to her bra, so she can feel his presence, so she can lay that satchel on her pillow and wake each morning to the prayer of his teeth marks on her pale cheek. So thanks. The next poem I'm going to read, excuse me, is called, I have like a extra light because I tend as a migrainer to, all my lights are in dimmer and my lights are kind of not that bright. So if it's a little dark, sorry. But I had a portable light that started blinking. So it's a poem called called Letter to Bertha. Excuse me, Letter to Bertha. Just one sec. Okay, fine. Letter to Bertha. If I could, I'd save you. Flies beneath your bed hiss, Bertha, Antoinette, Bertha. Though you plug your ears with lima beans, syllables seep in like dust pushing past closed shutters, like loco weed creeping across the garden wall, the mute battlements. Better to bust out of your cell, to let the oversized roach motel burn before your so-called husband stuffs you in a body bag, seals you like a cracker in a Ziploc. I'd set you up in a beachside condo, stocked with your favorite dahlias, Arabian Nights, black satins, Burma gems. I'd hire a good massage therapist and enroll you in yoga. I'd take you to a spa, treat you to a mud bath, restore those charcoal stained feet to their original hue. Have a stylist trim that cave woman hair. You'd take up kickboxing and swimming. You'd see a shrink who specializes in pyromania, who'd prescribe an antidepressant cocktail for those unpredictable mood swings and panic attacks. After shopping for a new wardrobe, a red dress, and matching slingbacks, we'd climb the Statue of Liberty. We'd toss your straitjacket into the ocean, and along with it, each vestige of sadness that has tinged your bloodshot eyes. I'd make you forget Edward. I'd cradle your face in my hands and I'd kiss you. A hypnotic lip lock, extinguishing each bad memory, obliterating suffering from your lexicon. Bertha, if I could, I'd save you. So now I'm gonna segue to some newer stuff. This is called Crutches. At 23, when my headaches transition from episodic to chronic, faster than the Flash can hightail it to another Earth, I take an antidepressant. Mommy, old school, preparer of 2-hour lunches, who scoffs when culinary shortcuts like pre-made sofrito or peeled garlic are mentioned, says I'm using a crutch, which reminds me of wobbling on crutches in high school after blowing out my ankle playing soccer. As a friend held my backpack, I traveled narrow hallways and buildings with crutches. I navigated treacherous stairwells by tucking said crutches under one arm and gripping handrail with the other. Up and down, between classes, up and down I lumbered, armpits achy, body bereft of poise. But I conquered those stairs. I knew where I was going and I arrived. So I'm just gonna grab from my bookshelf an omnibus, a comic book omnibus right now. Um, okay, so let's see. Can you see it at all or no? Okay, so a comic omnibus, it's just they're usually fat like this, kind of like the Bible. If you throw this at someone, you're definitely gonna hurt them if you get them. So it's just this one is Superman Silver Age. So it's just all the comic books of that era, many of them assembled in a collection, as opposed to when maybe collectors first purchased them in individual comic book issues. So I'm going to read a poem called How to Purchase and Prime an Omnibus. Many comic book readers are teenage boys not renowned for stellar hygiene. Avoid purchasing pre-owned copies. You don't want the book to smell like Axe body spray. It's tough to invest interest when Nightwing smooches Batgirl in midair if the Omni smells like wet dog. Who wants to catch a whiff of mildew when Superman finally reveals his secret identity or saves Lois Lane from the clutches of Lex or of a covetous Bizarro who wants his own Lois because, hey, even a Bizarro gets lonely? When the Superman Silver Age omnibus lands on your doorstep, delight in its heft, in the promise of intergalactic adventures within. Though you want to tear it like a candy bar wrapper, peel shrink wrap slowly, careful not to bend or fray corners. Admire this masterpiece like a plastic surgeon who's removed bandages and gauze. Marvel at the Man of Steel's upraised fist, about to strike Brainiac's smirk right off the dust cover. If you've purchased a Batgirl omnibus, savor the sight of Barbara Gordon besting the Joker after her recovery from spinal implant surgery. Feel the electromagnetic current of BG's neurostimulator coursing down her spine as she strikes a litany of blows for female survivors of sexual assault. Read the inside flaps. Strip the Superman omnibus to reveal a hidden gift, an alternate scene laminated on front and back covers. Crypto Kara and Baby Cal frolicking on Krypton. Perhaps the alternate cover on a Birds of Prey Omni features Oracle, also Barbara Gordon, armed with intellect, wheelchair, and Eskrima sticks, defending her high-tech hideout from intruders without Dick Grayson or Bruce Wayne's help. Flip the omnibus upside down to avoid spoilers. Lay the spine against a flat surface. Lay down front, then back cover. Hear the chorus of cracks? You're stretching the spine. You are opening the eye. Flip several pages at a time from far left, then far right. Repeat until you arrive at the center. Supine and parted in half, the book resembles scripture. Though tedious, prime the omnibus 2 to 3 more times. If you're a perfectionist, chant Gordon's Never Quit 3 times. If impatient, shout Great Caesar's Ghost. Don't forget, this is an investment in legacy. Chosen ones will inherit your carefully curated collection. Do the robot, applaud, you've created curvature. The eye of the spine is centered to avoid gutter loss. To maximize pleasure while enjoying symmetrical splash pages, perfectly aligned panels where Superman's buddy Mon-El is released after eons in the Phantom Zone. Lift palms to sky, praise Almighty Rao. Mon's illness is in remission at last. Let your enraptured hand sweep across sleek pages as Mon slips a Legionnaire ring on his finger and rediscovers the joys of flight, with Lightning Lad and Satin Girl at his side in the 31st century. So reading comic books is a good thing because it's escapist. There's always someone who's having a way worse problem than you are when you're reading a comic book. So this next poem is was inspired by a poetry pal of mine. Her name is Liv Mamon. Mamon. Right now I'm blanking out on the title of her book. Some of the books she writes are about cerebral palsy. So she said on Facebook, and it's the title of the poem, I'm somewhat ashamed to admit I try to exude neurotypical vibes. I watch women model mismatched socks on QVC, cute but mismatched, on purpose. Who cares if they have anti-slip soles, stay-on knit designs, and no-shows or knee-highs? How can anyone be productive wearing turquoise dolphins on one foot and white stars on the other? That's courting trouble. I crave symmetry, equilibrium. I prefer to perpetuate the illusion of having my act together. which won't occur if I sport mismatched socks. I've made a few concessions, accepted that the right breast is plumper than the left, that each eyebrow wants to assert its unique personality. Despite owning asymmetrical cups and bowls that belong at the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, I grew up trying to blend in. The introvert in me admires the Dark Knight's stealth, how Batman enters a room like a shadow and vanishes when onlookers glance away. I'm somewhat ashamed to admit I try to exude neurotypical vibes. Wait, I have to turn my face off. I warn relatives before photos. I deactivate neurostimulation that prevents migraine, so both sides look even for posterity. Enabling aggressive stimulation on one hemisphere creates a facelift effect. My face becomes a Picasso. At home, I ignore lopsidedness. I don't don curtain wigs for privacy like autistic singer Sia does in public. I often veil asymmetry under fedoras with slanted brims that make me feel like a gutsy broad, a gun mole in a 1940s flick, or a Gotham City villainess in the making. Okay, so thank you. We still have some time? Yeah, okay. So the next poem is The Migrainer Watches Harry Potter and the Deathly the Migrainer Watches Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, and it mentions cluster headaches, which are not really migraines, but which I hear are horrible. And thank God I don't have those, but those I hear it's mainly men that suffer from those. Okay. The boy who lived destroys the penultimate Horcrux hidden in a Ravenclaw diadem. I cringe whenever Harry stabs a Horcrux with a basilisk fang. The action prompts a pain so sharp, Potter can barely stand. So acute, I expect the lightning-shaped scar on his forehead will burst into flame as nerves shriek a desperate SOS, a frequency known to those, mainly men, slammed with cluster headaches. Clusters detonate in rapid succession, lasting weeks, months, even more than a year. They strike one hemisphere, stab the eye or temple. Some weep or seek relief by smashing their heads against walls. Clusters forced my grandpa in La Salle to leave the army with an honorable discharge. Our Gryffindor Harry proceeds without luxury of a stay at the infirmary, without Madame Pomfrey's kind ministrations, because Death Eaters don't take days off. Hermione and Ron watch their friend writhe. Fear, the invisible pain monster, a beast or demon not exorcised by simple incantation, will launch more surprise attacks on Harry in woods or dark corridors. Remember, there's always one more Horcrux to destroy, so like many mothers, caretakers, and soldiers, the boy who lived winces, deposits his pain in an imaginary box, forges ahead. Then this next poem is called Candor. So like in Superman comics, uh, Candor was a city and there's an evil alien named Brainiac. He's almost all machine, and Brainiac miniaturizes and kidnaps the city, and he places the kidnapped city of Candor in a bell jar. You could say he's a collector of civilizations. So I wrote a poem, and it's in the shape of a bell jar. Candor. When the breakthrough headache penetrates the neurostimulator's electromagnetic barrier, transforms into a full-blown migraine, it feels like millions of miniaturized Kandorians are storming the confines of Krypton's bottled city. Children's faces press and smear against glass. Frantic elders search for a breach, microscopic cracks, and the remaining Lilliputian-sized citizens tirelessly pound Brainiac's prison a bell jar until glass warps. Vibrations reverberate throughout like a succession of waves crashing against a defenseless shore. And then I can close with one. Yeah, okay. So I'll close with this one. It's called The Marvel Age. The Marvel Age. An octagonal shaped battery lives under the left shoulder. Skin sheathing this neurostimulator is christened by a scar long as my index finger. It sprawls across the sweet spot where my bra strap rests. Location selected so patients may sport bikinis confidently. General populace must believe only men sport scars with ease. I charge myself much like Tony Stark does in early Iron Man comics, except he rushes to outlets during close calls to prevent cardiac arrest, connects electrical cord to expansive chest plate, always hidden under tux or tailored suit, a ripening secret during the Marvel Age of comics. Before arc reactors, before Pepper Potts and Stark are an item, before the MCU. When everyone thinks Tony and Iron Man two separate entities, a playboy billionaire and his robot bodyguard. Unlike Stark, heart failure doesn't top my list of worries. With hardware, I fret over rousing metal detectors, airport security accidentally wanding me, shocking me, erasing programs. It's like walking around with an internal hard drive, another device to charge via induction, via Boston Scientific disk, a personal LoJack that beeps when removed from cradle, hushes upon kissing the sweet spot. Sometimes I sit in the rear in semi-darkness of chapel, charging. Green light illuminates my skin, shines through fabric of a floral maxi dress. Like Tony, I've become a cyborg, though I often question if this conversion makes me more or less of who I was before. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Rita. Wonderful, wonderful work, and so full of cultural references and fun, just rich, rich poetry. Thank you.